Hi everyone, welcome to my review of Chicken Little in 2005. This is the 46th, Disney animated feature film, and it's directed by Mark Dindal. Yes, so Chicken Little, of course, is about the basic plot. Is this character of Chicken Little, thinks the sky's fallen, tries to persuade everyone, and basically, early on they don't listen, and they think he's gone mad, and there's things involving these reporters and everything, and basically, in the end, they do believe him, and there's a massive, these aliens come, and, there's a very lengthy showdown at the end, which leads to nothing. Yes, many, people say this is the worst Disney film of all time, or at least one of the worst. I've only seen bits of it before, so actually this is one of the ones I've not watched before. This century, I've not been as well, versed in Disney as much, as the 20th century ones, and basically this is one of the quite a few that I've never watched until this point, all the way through. But I did see bits of it quite a few years ago, and it just didn't look very good. Now this it's the post-Renaissance Disney era, which is probably the worst era of Disney. For me, it's probably off memory, worse than the Dark Age of Disney. That's how bad it is, and really, Dinosaur is the only one that I think that really is of worth, of the ones have seen, and the other ones don't look that great. So yes, Chicken Little, most people say it's the worst of this era, and as you probably know by the tone of my voice, and basically the way I kind of said the plot very quickly, this film is shit, really, really bad. Disgraceful film, and really just pointless, random, really, really, really just not good animation. This is the first one to be fully CGI'd, computer animated by Disney, and basically, yes, it doesn't look good at all. It does not look good. It looks there's times where it really just looks like an interactive kind of DVD game, if you know what I mean. It's just really, really bad stuff, and has no charm to it. The film overall really doesn't have much of a heart. It does try and do a father-son relationship. Yes, you can tick that off, but that's as far as it goes with the things I'm going to praise. And it's nothing great. It is a bit generic and a bit forced, and at times out of place. But it is there, and it is of some merit. Some tiny touches of humanity in there. The rest of the film is these annoying animals running around the screen, screaming, making lazy film references that really piss me off. If you have Raiders of the Lost Ark in your film, as a reference, as a throwaway reference, you can get out. That film, don't even bother. And just so many different ones. It's just laughable. Because the film had no originality really at all. It just had to do all these references, relied on them so much, and the stuff that is there, they actually try and go for. Really, actually take it seriously. It's just that father-son thing, and it only goes so far. So this film really is just a mess from start to finish. And the actual second half of the film is really just the whole finale. It's so stretched out. It's just so repetitive. Just all out crazy action. That's what you get with this film. That's not even well put together. It's boring, and in the end, it's a throwaway ending. The way it ends, the kind of explanation for these, kind of aliens, is just throwaway. The whole film is throwaway, and the comedy in this film is just annoying. Really, at times, gross out, but most of the comedy just doesn't land. You have as well got a lot of the comedy relies on the film references, and just because you reference a film does not mean it's going to be funny. Everyone's going to laugh at it. Has to be done in a meaningful way, and there's so many in this film, and it's just even the opening titles I just got pissed off at. It's just kind of saying, oh, once upon a time and all this kind of stuff, and then they mocked it, and they kept going back to different ones, and they mocked that as well. Look at Shrek. That's how you do it, and don't overdo it. Shrek didn't, and it really worked amazingly well, because as well. Shrek was narrating that, and it was kind of this. It was to do with his character and his kind of, grumpy character and everything. But in this, they just, it's just really, not funny, and it's lazy and quite annoying. They start the film with this, multiple different ones, and then they just throw you in there with a load of just generic stuff. People running around the screen. the screen, screaming at the everything, and just the characters in this film are boring, annoying, and poorly developed for the most part. This father-son stuff that goes on between Chicken Little, and his dad is the only thing that really I can merit of somewhat. The rest of the characters are either annoying, boring, bizarre, or all at once the same. It's quite hard to believe this is Disney, and this has a 5.8 on IMDb, and this really, yes, for me, of all the Disney films, the official Disney films, I'm not talking about the straight-to-video ones and the kind of spin-off ones and all that kind of stuff. I'm not about the ones, the roughly nearly 60 films now. This is probably the worst I've seen. I really struggle, to think to think if there's any ones that are actually worse that I have seen. I don't actually believe I've seen The Black Cauldron. Most people say that's the worst as well, along with Chicken Little. So I'd have to actually watch that to say, but I don't imagine it'd be worse than this, actually. And yes, this film, it's a Disney film that really has there's no charm to it, and it just doesn't have much of a heart at all, and it is really dumb, annoying, and all the references and the really this kind of humour that's come about this century, where it just undermines everything. It really is prevalent 2000s onwards. And 2010s, there's loads and loads of films where this is just really prevalent. Just taking you out of the experience completely, and it's constant. It really just assaults the senses in that sense. There's also a lot of random zooms, just in your face kind of stuff. Combined with the fact that the animation itself is nothing that I really cared for at all. I didn't like the animation. I didn't like the full CGI use in this film. And it just didn't have all these little details that are in loads and loads of other animated films by Disney. It's not got much to it. It's quite flat, and it does look quite ugly. The colours, you could say, are you could say they're popping at times, but I actually just didn't like the whole look to the film, so it's kind of a complete write-off in that sense to the visuals. The songs used as well were quite annoying, and of course they reference many different songs, and I can't praise that just because they have some good songs in there as well, because it's just poorly used. The Staying Alive is used a couple of times. It's just so out of place, so out of tone. Just these annoying characters. The pig is the worst character in the film, probably. Just dances about, and just really, really bad character. You have some, Zach Braff voices Chicken Little, and it's not bad, but most of the other voice acting in the film is annoying, actually. And Chicken Little himself is not a good protagonist. Not the worst character in the film, but really nothing really at all. He's just quite boring, and not well developed, really. And just the whole way that it kind of no one believes him constantly, and then they eventually do, really abruptly. It's just very, very lazy and frustrating. The storytelling in this film is not strong. Yes, I think we'll end it very, very soon, because one, this film really annoys me, and two, I've got a couple of other films I really want to review tonight, especially Tarzan. This film is not worth my time to talk any more about. I hated the film. And there's a couple of things here and there to kind of merit, but even that father-son relationship is nothing really to speak of. So Chicken Little, it's not quite on the awful level, because there is touches of things that are okay, and you could say just the way some of the action scenes, most of the action scenes in the film are quite boring and just messy, but there's a one or two here and there that aren't really awful. So just really to not get into too much, there's a couple of things that bump it up from being, in the awful rating, but it is a very, very bad film and pretty close to awful overall. It's a film I hate, and I'd have to give it a 23%. There we go. Chicken Little. Would not recommend this. Wow. This is not a film that I would ever show to my kids, because it would just insults. It's a really stupid film, a pointless film. That is just annoying. There's no messages in there really. Kind of to teach anyone a lesson. When they're young, it's not really that warm. There is a couple of messages in there. Don't get me wrong, but they're not. The themes aren't explored you know, with care really, and with patience, and it's just they're just in there, you know, for the sake of it, you know. And yeah, it's really really bad film. Hate this film. For me, it could well be once I finish them all, because I've not seen them all, and I've not seen a couple in quite a few years of the Disney's officials. But this could be the very worst that Disney has ever, you know, been involved in that sense. And yes, it is shit. I absolutely hate this film, and thanks for watching my review.